Verhey. I'm here with Joey Pasco. We've had a long day. We're finally into the top 8 of the Legacy portion, and we have a great match for you coming here at the Star City Games Open Series in San Jose. We have, on your right, Gerry Thompson, resident curmudgeon. That's VD's face, but that's Gerry right there. Resident curmudgeon, great player, tombstone smasher, just an excellent Magic player. Him and Luis have taken the counterbalance deck. They worked through it. They made a lot of modifications this week while they were staying together. They come up with a pretty tight list, and it's got 3 colors. It's got Fire Spouts and Swords to Plowshares, Counterbalance, and all kinds of different things. But on the other side of the frame, we've got Vidianto Wijaya. Vidi is a former Versus Pro. He is widely considered to be one of the top 2 players in the game. He won a lot of money there, along with Michael Jacob, who is widely considered the other best player. And VD is playing a very interesting deck. He's playing a Counterbalance deck too that Adam Prozac handed him this morning. Now, VD has never played Counterbalance in Legacy before. He's barely played any Legacy, but the thing he's always been known for is his intuitive play style. He can really play well without having any knowledge of what's going on. He's just naturally good. And he's certainly shown it going into the top 8 with what is one of the most complicated decks in Legacy. And he's playing a different version than Gerry. He's playing blue-white. He's got some Trinket Mages. He's got Pithing Needle. He's got a Cursed Scroll.
I think his only creatures are Vendilion Click and Trinket Mages.
Right, so he's got no Tarmogoyfs, where Gerry is just 4 colors, right?
Yeah, I think Gerry's a more traditional countertop, kind of the countertop Goyf version. So he's got the typical 4 Goyfs.
And this is really a clash of the titans here for you.
And he also does play 2 copies of Vendilion Click. Vidi playing 2 Vendilion Clicks and 2 Trinket Mages as his creature base. And he obviously has a somewhat more stable mana base, but here, being that it's Legacy, there's the mana fixing is up to par with about as good as it gets, right?
So I mean, yesterday we saw a clash of the titans, literally.
Right.
Things on the board, lots of Primeval Titans, Frost Titans. Here, we have a Clash of the Titans, 2 great players playing a similar matchup. It's going to be great to see how it pairs out and how their individual card choices influence it. So for you guys wondering on the rest of the top 8, we've got 2 Counterbalance decks here. Pretty different but similar in their own ways.
Right.
The other decks in the top 8, we have got 2 Merfolk decks. We've got Thomas Johnson, with his Sweet 16 deck.
Right, dubbed Sweet 16 by us in the booths and Twitter. Some help from Twitter.
Why are we calling it Sweet 16? Because it is a Merfolk deck with 16 lands.
And 16 lords.
16 lords. It's just 12 island, 4 wasteland, no Mutavaults.
Because he forgot them.
Because he
forgot them.
Don't
need them.
He was testing.
Forgot them.
He was testing his fairies deck for extended, and he just forgot to put them back in.
Yeah, the story is he left them at home and decided that those slots would be better. Well, would be not necessarily better, but he had to put something there, and he decided to put Spell Pierce in the Mutavault slot. The logic there, I'd love to understand, but...
On the other side, we've got a more traditional Merfolk list. Michael Hetrick, a well-known player, playing a reasonable number of lands. We got, 8, 10,
21.
21 lands.
21 lands.
Even an extra land than normal.
Yeah.
But then we have 2 Goblin decks, or maybe even 3. Yeah, 2 Goblin decks in the hands of Stephen Podpleski and Ian Bartolome. And then we've got 2 interesting decks rounding up the top 8. We've got kind of a junk deck, Tarmogoyf, Dark Confidant, Knight of the Reliquary. It's almost like the Green and Taxes deck we saw, except with black.
With the black.
It's got Inquisition. And then we've got a pretty trippy deck. I think this made top 8 recently, last week, potentially. As it was mentioned earlier, but he's got it's a black-white deck with Stoneforge Mystic, Tide Hollow Sculler, Vampire Nighthawk, 4 Vampire Nighthawks.
Wow.
Dark Confidant, Mother of Runes, Vindicate, Jite, Thoughtseize, Inquisition. Should be pretty exciting top 8.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the players are taking their opening hands, and here we go.
Water?
Oh, and yes, I'll go get some water. You hold the floor.
I'll hold it down. So for those of you just joining us, we are currently watching the top 8 of the Star City Games Open Series here in San Jose, California. This is the Legacy portion, and we are the quarterfinals. I'm Joey Pasco. I'm joined by Gavin Verhey, who just went on a water run. We're watching Gerry Thompson versus Vidi Wijaya, both playing countertop lists, slightly different. Basically, the main difference is Gerry is running 4 Tarmogoyfs, and Vidi is only running 2 Vendilion Clicks and 2 Trinket Mages. Gerry also running the Vendilion Clicks as well. But both players look to have led off with a top, and Vidi goes straight turn 2 to a counterbalance, already assembling the combo. But Gerry does have the Force of Will, removing a counterspell.
I successfully found some water on my water run.
Oh, right,
and have
thank
returned.
you. Look at that, it's Arrowhead water, not the Eco 2 water we've been stuck
I kind of like the Eco 2 water more.
You know why? Because these caps
These
are like
caps-
tearing apart our hands.
Yeah, it's. You guys at home might be like, yeah, right, caps taking apart their hands. And the rest of you are like, you guys are talking about water caps during the quarterfinals of the Star City Games Open. And to that, I will say, fair point. So we returned to the game.
Gerry just stuck a Tarmogoyf.
And that's definitely a threat.
So what happened was Vidi stuck a counter. Well, he played counterbalance, and Gerry Force of Willed it, and Vidi Force of Willed right back and stuck the counterbalance.
So is that a counterbalance top?
Counterbalance top on Vidi's side, and then Gerry resolved the Tarmogoyf. I did not get to see what was on top of Vidi's library. Obviously, not a 2 casting cost spell because the Tarmogoyf would not have stuck. Vidi goes for a Ponder.
All right, man. Good time. So the Ponder's going to go through. We were talking earlier with Patrick Chapin about that Ponder versus Preordain, and it's actually a pretty interesting choice. The Ponder's there because it can really set up your counterbalance as well. You know, you can go Ponder on turn 1, draw a card, play counterbalance on that turn 2, and then know what the blind flip is going to be for turn 3. Also, you have so many shuffle effects that maybe Preordain isn't as good. Putting cards on the bottom isn't quite as effective. So Vidi's just going to draw off his Ponder here. He adds a sorcery to the graveyard to pump that Tarmogoyf.
Now, remember back in Standard, when Counterbalance and Top were both legal, it really wasn't a Tier 1 deck. It's only, I mean, I think it became more of a force and extended.
I think the biggest issue is that counterbalance and top were never legal in the same Standard format.
I thought Cold Snap wasn't legal at the same time as
As Kamigawa, no, because it went Champions of Kamigawa, Ravnica, Time Spiral. And it was during Ravnica Time Spiral that Cold Snap was released.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought that. I thought that's what it was, right?
No,
it was just like 3 months because Cold Snap came out in that summer.
No, you're right. Yeah,
then,
no, you're
when
right. It was a very, very short period of time.
It was
I
about
don't think there were any
3
major
months.
events during that period of
Right,
time.
and that may be why. But I do remember that they were legal for a time in Standard. It was just such a short time, like you said. It was like 3 months because Time Spiral came out in the fall
I remember
and
that.
pushed Kamigawa out. But
Yeah, that's right. There was a short period of time, and no one really did it. It actually took a while. The first time we really saw it was Grand Prix Dallas, I think 3 or 4 years ago, when the countertop deck really broke out. It was called Trinket Top back then, and it used Trinket Mage and Counterbalance. And then, and then Remy Fortier at Pro Tour Valencia really used it, put it to good use, but in his Wizards deck with Riptide Laboratory, returning Venture Shaper Savant, and also having Counterbalance Top at his disposal. And it really started taking hold around that time. And since then, it's just been a fixture. And it has a lot of shuffle effects, making judges everywhere very, very sad. It's true. Prasad Miller from the sideline points out in Type 2 there just weren't as many, in Type 2 we mean Standard, there just weren't as many shuffle effects. So it's harder to get use out of it. It's harder to put the cards you wanted on top always. And I also think people just didn't quite have it figured out. It wasn't relevant enough for that short period of time.
yeah. But I mean, I remember the first time it was highlighted for me, at least being able to watch somebody play it was Remy Fortier playing it at to a first place finish at Pro Tour Valencia back in 2007. I remember watching that and being very impressed with the deck. And I think at that point it was extended, which now looking down his list, which I happen to have on the screen here, it looks like a legacy deck.
It really does.
It's really nuts.
We're looking at this extended deck in quotes that was played a couple years ago. We're seeing Top, Explosive, Chromox, Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf, Trinket Mage, Counterbalance, Counterspell, Umezawa's Jite, all the kind of cards we're seeing here played in Legacy shows you that the apple does not fall far from the tree.
Yeah, I mean it's basically a legacy deck, but a couple of years ago it was all an extended. So it's an interesting thing. Valencia, was that the flood?
That was the Flood Pro Tour. Yeah, they had to
Pro Tour.
reduce it down to 2 days, and the Flood cut it by a day, causing a number of players to alter or even change their decks entirely. So back to the game. a Vidalian Click resolves on BD's side,
And
showing off Gerry's hand, which is a repeal Vidalian Click Fire Spout. Interesting.
Yeah. Do you want to dump that repeal? But I mean,
So he's trying to figure out, you know, VD has that top counterbalance active. What's going to be really important here? You know, which cards can you not counter? Is the repeal the issue? Is the Vidalian Click going to be a problem? It's interesting. I wonder what level Gerry's on right now, because in response he could have cast Vidalian Click and tried to look at VD's hand and then they would have just legend ruled. But maybe he's hoping that by not doing it, he thinks that Gerry's worried about casting the click. But no, VD just ends up taking the click anyway. And now VD's got the 3-1 flyer on the squad.
yeah, it's interesting because we've got on one side of the board we've got counterbalance top, obviously the namesake combo, but Gerry's got an active Tarmogoyf which has been beating down, for the last couple of turns. Vidi has the Vandalian Click now if he wants to chump block, because it looks to me that by the die on the Goyf is that it's a 3/4, so it wouldn't. Vandalian Click would do nothing but chump block if VD chose to block.
Right. I mean, VD's got his combo going, but he needs to find a sword soon, or that Tarmogoyf's just going to get out of control. And that's what? Force in his hand? And he goes for a repeal on the counterbalance. And he is responding, going for the force on the repeal. Gerry's going to top in response and try and find an answer to that force, because if that repeal resolves, so we might be able to get something online. But it doesn't look like it. Just swords Jace Fire Spout. Oh man, players deep in the tank. Look at the judge. His eyes are just starting to glaze over.
Says,
Trying to figure out what's
why
going on.
did they put me on the countertop match?
Yeah, I remember when I was judging and I got put on like Psychotogamy matches in the top 8. It was just awful. Very interesting, I feel, though. Like, if you want to become a better player, this is the kind of Magic you should watch. The small decisions here are just huge. Like, for the top 8 of Worlds this year, I think a lot of players just weren't interested because of all the control decks, but you can learn so much by watching how people played in that top 8.
It's the exact opposite of the way I am. I see all the control decks and I'm like, I have to watch these. I can't wait to watch these. I want to watch them more than once. When I see a bunch of like aggro decks, I'm like, oh, don't really want to watch that. So.
I mean, I think there are some really interesting matchups out there with aggro decks, like figuring out who's the beatdown, who's the control, who can come back from a bad draw, or control versus aggro, like, how do you maintain board position? But in control versus control games, so often it's just so skill intensive. And here we go, VD flips on a counterbalance.
Yes. Gerry attempts to counterbalance. Counterbalance triggers, showing counterbalance on top to counter the counterbalance. Yeah.
It was counterbalanced, and so he looks at his top 3 cards. We see Seat, Counterbalance, Force of Will.
Yeah, I guess I misspoke, because it's not that I'm entirely uninterested in aggro matches. It's just I'm much more interested in watching control matches.
Right. And so VD's in a great position here. He's got his counterbalance on top. The problem is that Tarmogoyf is eating away at his life total.
Yeah.
He is 3 hits away from that Tarmogoyf, and he needs to find an answer, and fast. And here comes Jace. And VD is going to look at his top 3 cards. Hope to see a Jace sitting there. Jace would be the greatest card right here, right now, because he'd be able to flip it, and there's no Jace there.
Yeah, it looks like, is that Force?
It's Force, Counterbalance, Ponder.
Okay.
Because if there was a Jace, he could flip it, counter his Jace, untap, play Jace, and bounce Tarmogoyf, and then control the game. But that was not the case, and now he's kind of in a rough spot.
this game.
Maybe after a match. Maybe after a match.
Maybe I'm just thinking after this game since it's it'll be 8 o'clock, right? 10 minutes from now, while they shuffle.
Oh man, so for those of you just joining us, the board state right now is a Jace the Mind Sculptor on Gerry's side that just resolved, a Tarmogoyf and a top with some lands, versus Counterbalance, top, and some lands on Vidi's side. Vidi's playing blue-white Counterbalance, and Gerry's playing 4-color Counterbalance. And Vidi's got a game in what looked like a good position, but that Tarmogoyf's eating away at his life total, and now Gerry just stuck a Jace, and things are going to be rough. That Ponder will help Vidi maybe find some action, but even if he can find a swords for that Tarmogoyf, that Jace is going to be an issue. So he shuffles pretty rapidly with that Ponder.
Yeah.
What did you draw there?
I missed it too. It's just like I'm kind of rubbing my eyes from the being awake for all day. Like my contacts are bothering me. Yeah, it looks like Trinket Mage and
so Trinket Mage can go.
Does he have Seat as a sign out of this thing? Is that what that is?
Yeah, Seat as a sign.
So Trinket Mage, which can fetch up the Seat.
Yeah, so not doing any Seat fetching here.
Yeah.
And his targets are Pithy Needle, so we can go to Pithy Needle on Jace. Which is reasonable.
Pretty good play.
Still leaves that Tarmogoyf. I guess it does block Tarmogoyf for a turn. And gives him some time to find something else. The only other card he could find at this point would be Sensei's Divining Top, which isn't going to be enough.
Looking at I don't know. I don't know what this is.
So he stacks his cards back. Plays the Seat. He's got to figure out what his plan is.
I think Gerry's trying to figure out what his plan is too.
I mean, Gerry still has that Fire Spider in his hand. Or he might have put it on top of his library. Okay, so he's going to cast that Trinket Mage here. And he's definitely going to find a Pithy Needle. The question is if he's going to cast the Needle this turn or leave mana up to top. And I feel like he's probably going to have to cast the Needle this turn because he can't afford to let that Jace be active. What happened with that Trinket Mage?
That's what I can't see.
Gerry just untapped after Trinket Mage entered the battlefield?
Did he just choose not to search for something?
No, it's legitimate. He probably chose not to search. The reason why is because he just wants a chump blocker, and it didn't catch what the top 3 cards of Vidi's deck are, but they're obviously pretty good.
But he must want them, yeah.
So here, Trinket Mage is just, alright, let's gain 4 life. Which is too bad, because finding that Pithy Needle for Jace would have been so crucial here.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I didn't catch what Vidi's top cards were. It could be the right play. We're going to find out.
So Gerry looks like he has possibly that Fire Spout, is that?
Right, that's Fire Spout you can use on
there
that
it is,
Trinket
which
Mage.
he uses, yeah.
He's going to top in response.
Of course. Now we see...
I all I saw was Misty Rain for it.
Yeah, I saw Fetch, and that was it.
And it just resolves.
Yeah, so... Well... And then the Goyf ticks up to 5.
Yeah, I don't know how much that matters at this point. But
right, it was going to take 2 swings.
I mean, and he knew he had that Fire Spout from the earlier Vendelian click. Very surprised, but I don't know. It seems like Trinket Mage for Pithy Needle there might have been the right play, but it's hard to tell for sure. Vidi has a plan, and he's going to try and play out of this. All right, Tarmogoyf gets in for 5. Going to bring Vidi down to a right 2 life.
Wait a second.
Alright, untap. And draw. Alright, so he's got swords
There's
for the
the
Tarmogoyf.
swords. Swords for the Goyf.
Yeah, he's going to top in response to try and find an answer. It doesn't look like there's anything there. There's another Jace. If he just had that Pithy Needle, it'd be so good, but he had to keep the swords to get rid of that Tarmogoyf, so he didn't die.
Yeah, it's a matter of, he can Pithing Needle the Jace and then die 2 turns later, or,
Right. I mean, I wonder if maybe just holding and not casting the Trinket Mage
Oh,
would have
wow.
been okay.
So Gerry managed a Force of Will.
Yep, so that gets forced.
Now Vidi trying to find a Force on top.
Yeah,
So that, and there it is, yeah.
He doesn't even look at the cards.
Yeah, I know.
He's so
I'm gonna say,
confident.
did he even
So
look?
confident. All right.
So not only does he counter Gerry's Force, he also has his own Force on top.
Right, and that force would be great if his opponent didn't have Jace active. That's the big limiting factor right here.
Yeah.
That Jace is going to pull things ahead so far for Gerry Thompson if VD can't deal with it. Let's see what's going on. Oh, there's top for Gerry. He's going to top in response. See a counterspell Force of Will on top of his library.
And fetch land, yeah.
Yeah.
Misty Rainforest.
Now, VD could crack the top here and counter the top, but he's worried. What does Gerry have in his hand? And I think you have to though. I think countering that top here is so huge. And,
Yeah.
if he goes and just puts that counter spell in his hand, then he can just play the top out next turn and have counter backup for whatever Gerry's going to do. Oh, what a great game. And for those of you who are just joining us, I'm Gavin Verhey here with Joey Pasco, and we're giving you live coverage of the Star City Games Open Series on in San Jose. This is the legacy portion quite clearly, and it's the quarterfinals. After a long day, we finally got to the quarterfinals. We've got this great match between Gerry and Vidi, the counterbalance mirror match. A lot of skill-intensive stuff has happened so far, and I expect it to only continue. Gerry's playing a 4-color counterbalance deck, kind of more traditional build, Tarmogoyf and Jace and counterbalance top, obviously, Swords of Plowshares. But Vidi, on the other hand, is playing just straight blue-white, swords, counterbalance, top, only click, Vidalian click, and Trinket Mage for his creatures. And he just plans to win with either a click or his own Jace of his own. It was a deck built by Adam Prozac, and it's been quite interesting to watch play. Although Prozac went 0-2 today, Vidi, despite never playing the deck in his life, which is impressive considering its complexity,
Yeah.
is sitting here in the top 8.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have a somebody on Twitter saying Gerry's experience is showing, and it's an interesting observation. Gerry obviously does have experience with this deck when compared to Vidi's experience. This is his first tournament with the deck. Now, Vidi did say he played counterbalance and top together when they were in standard, but
Or I think extended is what
was it
he said.
extended? I had thought he said standard, but either way, he's used to playing those 2 cards together.
Right.
I mean, if he played them in extended, it's the same deck. Apparently,
It's true.
not far off, but I don't know.
So we flip this top here. What's going on?
So I think is that top still on the stack?
It's possible he stacked it after the top resolved. I'm not sure. So something happened, whatever happened. So VD drew counterspell, and I was going to try and counterspell. Why didn't he just flip to the counterbalance with this top?
Yeah, that's strange. So he sounds like he activated.
So
You know, he activated the top, and then of course Gerry's trying to figure out what's up too, to the Fate Seal.
Wow, what a play! Yeah, but he couldn't put top on top because Gerry would just Fate Seal it away.
Right. So he had to activate the top to be able to use the look at the top 3 cards. So he kind of activated both of top's abilities.
Right.
One in response to the other, so that he could get the top in there and not have it not have it be the top card. But it didn't end up mattering because Gerry just beat him with the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, I mean,
With a second copy of Tarmogoyf.
I almost wonder there if maybe it's right. I hadn't considered the Jace line of play. In that case, it might just be right to let that top resolve. I mean, if you can't afford to let you lose your top, I mean, you don't want to see Vidi without his top on. It's
No, I mean, somebody just asked something about fate sealing with Jace. I definitely saw the possibility of a fate seal with Jace. I just didn't know for sure what Vidi wanted to do as far as whether he was trying to play around that fate seal or what. And that adds an entire another level of complexity to the deck from when it was in extended. Jace being able to look at the top card of the deck. You know, not only obviously you can't do it at instant speed, but it is sort of like another. You know what's on top of your deck, whether you have the top or not.
Right.
Being able to brainstorm or fate seal yourself, scry, I guess. Or again, in this case, as Gerry did, fate seal away something when your opponent has the counterbalance top.
Yeah, I mean, Tarmogoyf seems great in this matchup. It's so important. It's just crucial to have. So let's see. After sideboarding, it looks like Vidi's gonna pick up not a ton. I mean, he gets Pithing Needle, but the only card he can really needle is Top, which just shuts off his own tops too. Spell Pierce, I think, is a reasonable card, as well as Engineer Explosives.
Right. I'm not sure. Oddly, could Moat actually be relevant? I mean, if Tarmogoyf is relevant, I mean, I don't know, just an idea.
It is interesting because I'm looking at Gerry's list right now. He doesn't really have a good out to emote. I guess he can repeal it.
So he's got a Vendilion Click.
Oh, he does have a Vendilion Click. But I mean, the main card I think he's worried about is Tarmogoyf. But even then, I don't think it's worth bringing in. I think you just have to hope to win the game with swords and such.
Now Gerry has Sower of Temptation, which would be interesting to bring in against opposing Tarmogoyfs, but since Vidi doesn't play them.
Yeah, that's going to be a big issue. What Gerry does have, which is absolutely gigantic in the matchup because of his green splash, is Krosan Grip.
Right.
That's going to be quite the breaker. And he additionally also has Spell Pierce, as well as Red Elemental Blast, which is another reasonable card. What a great game played by two great players. I mean, Vidi eventually lost that in the end. It was looking great for him for a while, but that Tarmogoyf was just really taking him down.
You want to do this? It looks like they're shuffling up. We should have a
go
couple minutes.
for it.
We'll announce the last clue
So
here.
we have the last clue here for the mystery writer.
This is not the reveal. This is just another clue.
Another clue? Seriously? We don't get the reveal yet?
No, we're going to get the reveal apparently.
Oh, at 9 o'clock in about an hour from now.
Yeah.
When the article goes up live. A lot of people on Twitter seem to think it's Brad Nelson.
All right, let's see if this
Let's see if
goes
this
along
clue
with
fits
that.
it in.
He won a Grand Prix last year. Brad Nelson won GPDC.
Yeah, he most certainly did.
It works for Brad Nelson. Still fits. He at least doesn't discount him. So I guess we'll all find out in about an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty likely, but it's hard to say.
Okay, so let's assume it is Brad Nelson if everybody's correct.
Okay.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
That is really awesome. I mean, just look at the writers we have. I mean, that's so great. I mean, I love Brad's articles.
Absolutely.
It's great to read them. He's put up a lot of great results, obviously, and he always talks about things in a great and interesting way. And if we have Brad, I don't know how he swindled that, but that's quite the...
It's a coup. Yeah, I think
it is a coup. That's one of my favorite words.
Yeah, I heard you say that earlier. That was good.
Like my mama would always tell me, use the word coup when it matters most. And now you know this is a good time for the word coup.
Your mama really told you?
Yeah. Down in the South, you know. All right, so this is I don't know, just good match.
Brad's a super nice guy. I met him
really
at
is.
GPDC, and then I met him at Nationals, actually, when we drafted with him. And he was like, who are these guys?
Oh, yeah. Well,
remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And Big Head Joe's like, I interviewed you at Grand Prix DC.
And then didn't he first pick me in that draft?
No, I first picked you.
You first picked
and
me.
Joe first picked Flores, and then I picked Brad.
Yeah, so third pick Brad Nelson.
I wheeled him.
You wheeled Brad Nelson. I think that's I'll take a wheel on Brad Nelson any day.
Magic players, as the event is winding down, I'd like to remind people that we do have some lost and found.
Good
So
times.
if you're missing some items and you think they may have been
Yeah, I mean, Brad is
by
just
a
a
generous
great dude to hang
soul,
around. He was in the
please
Community
come up
Cup
to the
earlier this
stage
year, and we were on the same team. I subbed in at the last minute. It was a fabulous experience, but you can go and find all the coverage of it. But he's just being nice and jovial, and I don't know. He's just a great guy to hang around. All right, so look at Gerry's hand. I see a top. I think I saw a Force of Will. And in Vidi's hand, there's definitely counterbalance there. And they both kept their hands pretty fast.
So is that a Caracas he opened? No, I'm sorry, it's a Flooded Strand. Big glare.
Flooded Strand. Yeah, I know a lot of you listeners are complaining about the glare, being hard to read the board state. I mean, we're doing what we can to help you out. We'll tell you the cards as they're played for the most part, but just try and follow along. We'll do as much as we can for you guys.
Yeah, it's
Obviously,
tough being able to streaming live video isn't
right.
it takes up a lot of like bandwidth and things. So.
Imagine we're sitting here in San Jose, and wherever you are, you're seeing this, and it's so many miles far away from where you are right now. I mean, it's crazy that's even possible.
Yeah.
But I understand I want to be able to see things well.
So Gerry with the turn 2 Tarmogoyf.
There's the Tarmogoyf.
This is the difference in this match. I mean, that's what it seems like. It's really coming down to Tarmogoyf, who was the winning card in the last matchup. Despite Vidi assembling the countertop combo, Gerry says, "I'm just gonna beat you with a vanilla creature." I mean, Tarmogoyf isn't exactly vanilla, but I mean it has no actual ability, so it's just a vanilla beater. He's like, "I'm just gonna beat you while you sit there with the countertop." So there's the Spell Pierce. Vidi manages to. I'm sorry, yes, Spell Snare.
Yep.
Spell Snare for the Tarmogoyf. After cracking 2 fetches, I believe, or cracking 1 fetch. So, but it does appear to Vidi does appear to have played a second fetch land, or a third fetch land, in fact. He did crack 1. So yeah, there it is. He's got 2 fetch lands and a original duel. Gerry goes for a Sensei's Divining Top. And plays a Scalding Tarn, passes the turn. Vidi cracking both of his other fetch lands. It was I believe a Misty Rainforest and a Flooded Strand.
Yep, that's what it looks like. Gonna go get some nice dual lands. Talk about good lands, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
So, loading screen with the shuffling there, and now looks like Medallion Click's going to come down.
Loading screen, I love it.
Yeah, that's what Ken Nagel calls it, loading screens. When you're shuffling, it's like, all right, hitting
loading, yeah.
Yeah, 1 second, loading. All right, so the click comes down. It sees Gerry's hand. There's a top and a counterbalance there.
Yeah. And there's a top on board already too.
Yeah.
So we see Volcanic Island. It looks like
Tundra,
counterbalance, glare, and
yeah, not glare for the duel.
Yeah.
Just like impossible to see card.
Yeah, absolutely, fully glare.
Like, I mean, I'm pretty good at picking my cards out, and that's literally just there's nothing there.
And then a Sensei's Divining Top.
Sensei's Divining Top, yeah. Or
And,
is
is
that
that a counterspell?
Looks like something blue. A Force of Will. That's what that is.
Okay. Well, it's a counterspell, but it's not counterspell.
It is. It's true. It gets confusing with your counter spells and your counter spells capitalized.
Right. And then there's spells that put counters on themselves when you cast them, such as Planeswalkers.
Yep.
When you cast them, you get the loyalty counter.
Or Arcbound Worker, as we've seen
right.
today.
Yeah. And other counters, as I said earlier, Chapin playing with. What's that?
Steady Progress.
Steady
as Rashawn
Progress
puts
as
that,
a counter
spell.
spell. That's right.
If you guys
All
haven't
these-
seen the card Ambiguity from one of the unsets, it plays on that rather well.
Oh, great. Gotta check that out. Yeah. Ambiguity, whenever a player plays a spell that counters a spell that has been played, or a player plays a spell that comes into play with counters, that player may counter the next spell played or put an additional counter on a permanent that has already been played but not countered.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Seems like a logical card. All right, so that Vanilla Click comes in.
Nice transition into the same screen, Rashad.
Did we switch sides? No, okay.
Rashad's over there getting really tired.
Rashad's over there
I wonder
playing
what this
around
button
with
does.
the settings. ran the old transition there. But you know what's really awesome are the new transitions for SCG Live. I gotta say, they look really nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome, like some of the new things. And I know we've already made some improvements from last week, where people didn't like the Elspeth graphics. So
For good reason.
We've got just the basics here, with the kind of see-through graphics besides the names and the information that you need.
That's all we really want, and then the nice little watermark over in the right-hand corner.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm watching NBC, you know? Might as well be an
Right.
episode of 30 Rock, but with Magic players.
I want to see one of the graphics where like the people walk on the screen and then just stand there. That's what we should have, like me and you, kind of like walking along the side, like little tiny versions of
Oh,
us.
yeah,
You know, these
sure,
things,
sure.
and you just cross our arms or whatever.
And I'd be like, you know, coming next week to
Right.
to Edison, New Jersey.
the
right?
commentators for next week, right? And then, exactly, tune in, that kind of thing.
Tune
You know,
in.
the graphics that advertise another show. It's always
Uh,
confusing, especially when there's a shot that that looks like those people could actually be walking into. But anyway, yeah.
So meanwhile, the top hits the table there.
So we've got top on on Gerry's side of the board there.
And click comes in. VD's really good about just bashing with those clicks. I mean, only 2 of them, but he's just click away. Do you think there's any chance VD brought in Curse Scroll here as an answer to a Vendelian click and also just to deal some damage over time? Okay. All right. And Gerry says top 3. Let's see.
You're not on aim, right? Okay.
How's that? Let's see. Here comes down Jace.
Counterspell.
There's Force of Will. Alright, and Jace hits the bin. That crucial Planeswalker does not yet resolve. Alright, BD goes to find a fetch land here. Or fetches, go find a dual land rather.
None of these are mine. Look at us go. This sleeve is free. Actually, I run them.
And here we go.
So VD, 1 card in hand, beats in with the click.
Beats him with the click, drops Gerry down to a ripe 9 life. He digs a little further with that top. Oh, is that 2 tops on top?
Top, something else?
I think that was top click, but I'm not certain. That's what it looked like to me. Is that what it was indeed?
Couldn't tell. Let me see.
Did I think
Gerry
it's
using
again?
the top again? Yeah, top, something else.
And the camera zoomed away. I think it's top Force of Will. That's what it sounds like to me. And man, what a close matchup. It's just so intense right now. Alright, passes back. Upkeep. Medallion click. And they're going to trade. Gerry is going to use the top. He's going to, oh, very clever. Jerry's targeting himself using the top. Then he's going to flip the top and draw the top and then basically put one of the cards on the bottom from the top of his library.
Yeah.
Just so he can dig a little further. At least I assume that's what's going on. I couldn't hear him if he targeted himself or not. But
Right, I was curious about that interaction with the legendary permanent. You know, obviously they kill each other, but you know, does the ability still resolve? But obviously it should. So here he goes. So here he goes. Yeah, he did what you said. He clicked himself, and then use some top activations to manage to grab a card to put on the grab a card to put on the bottom, and then plays out another top.
Just drops a land. Not a lot in his hand. I think I saw Spell Spear Caracas.
Yeah, it's funny that Caracas would have been very useful just a moment ago.
Oh man.
So now
Another
Gerry
Jace.
with the
That's gonna be
Jace.
rough. And he's got 2 up for that Spell Pierce. Oh, and it resolves. That looks bad for Vidi. He leaves the card there. And the sinking feeling starts to set in.
So there's the Caracas, which again would have been very relevant just a few minutes ago when he had that Vendilion click in play. So now Gerry untaps with Jace and a top. Says, I need a bigger die.
Man. And now Vidi's just in Jace lock. He has to draw
Yeah.
something really good right here.
And he's not going to draw anything. I mean, he does have to draw something really good there because
Probably the
whatever it
only
was, he
chance.
shifted to the
Is that-
bottom.
Oh, that's Vendilion Click.
Is it Vendilion click?
Pretty sure that's Vendilion Click. That's just the card he was looking for.
Yeah, with the Caracas that's really relevant.
And Jerry's just gonna Fate
Gerry
Seal him
says, I'm
again.
going to Fate Seal you again. What do you got? And keep
Man,
it.
it's all yours. He's gonna pass back.
Okay,
He's
but
gonna try
so
jamming this.
there's the Vendilion click. Now Gerry's got an option. Does he attempt to counterspell this? I believe he has, Force of Will, which he's just going to hard cast.
And that Spell Pierce not looking so good against those 2 lands.
Yeah, what is it? Spell Pierce Swords, I think.
Spell Pierce Swords in VD's hand right now. Just lets it resolve. Draws.
So there went the second Vendilion click, and now VD plays the land, passes the turn.
Spell Pierce on top of
Gerry's
deck
library,
now.
right?
Yeah, that'll give him a little bit of ammo, but I don't know how relevant it's going to be. I mean, the thing is, VD's got the fetch land, so he's guaranteed a live draw this turn. Oh man.
Meanwhile, Jace though is ticking up, whether or not the top card
I
stays
think
on
it's
top.
sitting at. Is it on 8 right now?
I want to say
Or 10? I think it's on 10. I think we're 2 away from seeing a Jace Ultimate. Looks like 10 to me.
or 11. I mean, did he ever do anything but?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I think.
I'm sorry, 11 rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, did he only came down and Fate Sealed 4 times? Is my guess.
Right.
I mean, I think it was about 4 times.
You're right.
yeah.
You're correct. Sorry, I was doing my Jace math wrong. Where it ended up, kind of silly.
Jace math.
Jace math. Yeah. All that matters is we're getting really close to ultimate for Jace, which is going to be a big problem.
I was just wondering.
Gerry shuffling away, and VD has very limited time to find an answer to that Jace. He's got to really draw a Jace here. Oh, there's Croson Grip, but that's it's a good card for Gerry to have in case he does draw a Jace. But whew. Oh man. Yep. So he cracks that Misty Rainforest. Force of Will on top. VD's glad he shuffled. He's going to shuffle away those islands, see what he can do. So that's a spell snare, it looks like.
Is it spells? He's got 3 1 casting cost spells in his hand.
Not good enough.
Nothing that's actually going to do anything, because plows don't hit Jace, and counter spells don't hit permanents that are already in play.
So this is likely VD's last turn.
Yeah, looks like VD's run may have come to an end, but he did have a good run. I mean, taking
VD can still top deck Jace here.
right. And I'm not thinking it's entirely over, but I mean just taking a look at the situation. I mean, I think VD, as people have been saying, Gerry does have a lot more experience with this deck, and VD, you know.
Oh, yeah. Is that Reb? Yeah, that Reb will not. That Reb should do it.
So yeah, he's got it on top if he needs it.
I think that's game.
He untaps,
Well,
draws the Reb.
We'll see it all go out.
Jace tick up. Probably
Oh, that's
that
a
should be
Jace right there,
13.
too.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a Jace,
Wow.
but he puts it on the bottom.
Yeah.
And even running Jaces will not
So
save
he
you
puts
here.
it on the bottom, passes the turn.
That's
We get a
Brainstorm.
Brainstorm. Now,
I guess he could drop Hithindle here if he brought it in. That is his other option.
right, so here we go.
Right.
Spell Snare doesn't hit it. Spell Pierce is useless.
And
So I think he's just not going to get the Brainstorm.
yep.
But
That's
he
gonna be it.
can be pretty confident in thinking Gerry is not going to Brainstorm either, not with Jace.
All right, he lets
So-
it resolve. He passes. He's gonna pass back to Gerry.
I think
Jerry's
that's
gonna slide the card into his hand, and
So yeah, he's going to top first and check things out.
yeah, it all. Jerry's like, all right, that all sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's
I think he force
do it.
put the force on
Do you
top.
think VD, being the sweet guy he is,
Yeah.
you think he's gonna play it out?
So he's like, I'm going to tick
right,
tick
no.
Jace to 1. Yeah.
All right, and that's the match. See, that wasn't so bad now, was it? Wasn't so
Not at all.
painful. Gerry takes down VD. Some good games, ultimately.
Yeah. Good games live, in fact.
Gerry takes it